Hello and welcome again to this edition of Meet the Candidates 2020 here on WCMU Public Television. I'm David Nicholas. We are speaking with our guests virtually this year, joined this time by Sandy Clarke. She is the Democratic candidate for Michigan's 100th House District race, the challenger in that race this year. Sandy, congratulations on the win in the August primary, and good to have you here. In the first moment or two, tell us a little bit about you and your background and your experience you bring to the campaign.
Well, thanks, and thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting. I appreciate it so much. I am a retired college professor. I retired from West Shore Community College. I'm currently one of the trustees for Weber Township, where I live. I sit on the board for the Lake County Community Foundation. This year, we were able to provide up to $60,000 for our food pantry so that no family would be without food. I also sit on the board for a 5-county veterans organization. I'm the fund coordinator for that. We work with veterans who are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm also a board member for the Baldwin Promises. And as an educator and being a board member, I like to say that we're the most awesome of the 14 promise zones in the state of Michigan. We provide up to 4 years, but that includes 2 years, VOTEC and certificate programs up to $20,000. And this year, we are allocating funding for books as well. A little bit about Sandy Clarke.
Very good, thank you. As you've been campaigning up to and since the August primary, the key issues that you as candidate and also the voters that you've been speaking with, what are all of you collectively identifying as the key issues in the campaign this year?
Well, one of the key issues and a priority for me, given that approximately 67% of the populations in this district, Lake, Newaygo, Oceana counties, are below the poverty line, of which between 27 and 32% are children. So healthcare is an issue, and we know that on November 10th, the Supreme Court will be looking at repealing the affordable healthcare. That just cannot be an option for our families here in the district, our youth aging out of foster care, our seniors, our veterans. Another issue is affordable housing. It's very difficult to look at bringing a new business when you don't have the housing. We face that here in Lake County, but I also know that there's those issues in in Newaygo and in Oceana counties as well. Just trying to get new teachers to who are recently graduates to come into our district is very difficult because there just isn't the housing. That's an issue for our seniors, that's an issue for our veterans, and it certainly is an issue for those, again, that population of youth aging out of foster care. We find that in Oceana County, for instance, many of those who are employed in Oceana County drive major distances as far as 25, 30, 40 miles because they live outside of the county. And that's also an issue for those who live in Newaygo County as well. So that's one, education. We know how important it is for our young people to be able to look at not just having a job, but a career, and not just a salary, but a living wage, so that it's going to match their background, their experience, their skill levels, and that they'll be able to have the housing they need. They'll be able to pay for their insurance on their cars. They'll just be able to afford the basics. So education is very important. And here in our District 100, while we have the promise that is just outstanding, it's limited in Newaygo County. Students are only able to go to a couple of community colleges, and it's not up to 4 years. It is a program that deals with VOTEC, but it does not deal with the 4 years or even in some cases certificate. And in Oceana County, there just is not a promise. So that is a priority for me as an educator.
This issue regarding education, also the housing affordability that you mentioned, tie back to that overarching priority that you mentioned, and then define more clearly under healthcare regarding that percentage of the population below the poverty line. If we look at first the healthcare aspect, and then taking that also into economic development, which could impact then the housing affordability and educational opportunities, how first would you address, from a policy standpoint, that level, that number within the population that currently is below the poverty line? What do you propose?
Well, certainly the health care is going to be a major issue and a priority. If you do not have the necessary health care so that you can just get treatment, that's going to be an issue. If your child cannot get screened for various disease, or cannot, the family can't afford for a vaccination, that's going to be an issue. So that healthcare is going to be a priority for me. We have many of our seniors who just cannot afford to look at just getting their prescriptions filled right now throughout the district, being below that poverty line. So that is, for me, that's an issue that I would look at closely. For our veterans, many of them have issues just to look at getting to a doctor, getting the necessary paperwork completed. You often have, for instance, in our district here, for instance, in Lake County, you may have someone that would have to go all the way to Cadillac outside of the county to get the necessary paperwork completed so that they'll be able to get to their doctor and get treated, and then get what they need in terms of their prescription. So those are issues. And as you're looking at the housing issue, it's going to be very difficult to bring in new businesses when there is no place for those new employees at those businesses to have housing. So yes, that housing, the healthcare, education, we know how important it is that we train and educate our young people so that they will be able to afford to provide for their families and have employment, have a job, have a career, have that living wage, be able to have a home, to be able to afford the essentials that go along with that. So yes, those three issues go hand in hand as I see it.
The housing would provide a source of economic development. Is there a way, or are you looking at specific policies or regulations that are on the books in the 100th district right now that limit economic development being put into motion through at least a startup in housing as one means to jumpstart the economy there?
Oh, for sure. And one of the ways that I looked at helping to do that, we have a very involved Habitat for Humanities program. And as a trustee for the Lake County Community Foundation, one of the areas that I looked at is how could we help to fund special projects with Habitat so that there could be housing, affordable housing at that. We were able to, and I feel very proud of the trustees for the foundation, that we were able to look at having Habitat as one of our special projects, where we looked at a dollar amount that we could work with them on, and then look at the possibilities in working with them to get housing up for families, for our veterans, to be able to match that. And we were able to do that this year, even as we move through this this virus, coronavirus 19. So yes, that is important, and it's something that I work on diligently in terms of looking at how I can help our projects through the Community Foundation and certainly through Habitat.
One of the areas that many have looked at in terms of economic restarting and growth in Michigan is the lack of the trained workforce. You mentioned the Tuition Promise program that does provide some opportunities for those looking to go into vocational technological areas through area community colleges. But you call that a limitation. Would there be a way to not only enhance that or at least reinforce that, and then possibly working with that tuition promise from a policy standpoint to have that more flexible to transfer for those that want to onto one of the state's four-year institutions?
Oh, certainly. And one of the areas to do that, and certainly I worked with the students, is to look at dual enrollment programs from the high schools to be able to have our young people, our students who are in the 11th and 12th grades, to look at enrolling in classes at the community college and actually having those credits apply, so that as they're looking at going on to either VOTEC or trade, that they would have the hours they need to move forward and wouldn't have to start from the beginning. So yes, that would be one of the initiatives that we could look at, and certainly as a state rep, I would look at throughout our district and working with our educators, our administrators, school officials, superintendents, to look at how we could increase those numbers throughout the district of the students who are able to be into that program and not only have classes within their high school, but also at some point through the day from 8 a.m. At the beginning of their class until the end of the day at 3 o'clock, that they could be enrolled in classes that would matriculate to a community college, or even perhaps a four-year college, and certainly in terms of a VOTEC or certificate program.
Just about a half minute left with you, and we wanted to leave the time, as we do for all candidates, to give that final message that you would send to the voters as they get set to go to the polls. And we ask you then, what would that message be that you send to them?
The message is that their vote counts, their voice counts, and to please get out, vote, whether you do it by absentee or you do it face-to-face. But the important thing is that this year it's critical that we get out and we get out to vote. It is so important that your vote will count throughout the district, District 100, Lake, Newaygo, Oceana County, and even statewide and on a national level. The vote will count.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time today to talk with us, and also directly to those voters in District 100. We hope that you'll stay safe. Good luck with the rest of the campaign, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you so much for having me today. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
We have been speaking with Sandy Clarke. She is the Democratic candidate for Michigan's 100th House District. And a reminder that under Michigan election law, all qualifying candidates have been invited to participate as part of this series. I'm David Nicholas. For all of us here, thank you for joining us. Join us again, and please do get out and exercise your right to vote on Tuesday, November 3rd.